Do you know how Google is very powerful? If you don't know yet, I am going to share with you my ideas and opinions. After you watch this video till it ends, share your thoughts as well in the comment section, and don't forget to click subscribe and ring the bell notifications for upcoming videos. Okay, let's get started. How many times have you typed your symptoms into a Google search engine to diagnose whatever you think is wrong with you? I do this all the time to have an idea of what is wrong with me before I need to consult my doctor. I want to look into whether it is something I can manage myself with over-the-counter medication. Google is introducing a super special AI that it intends to use to diagnose and prescribe medication correctly. The tool is called AlphaFold 3. AlphaFold 3 predicts the structure and interactions of all of life's molecules. AlphaFold 3 is a synergy between Google DeepMind and Isomorphic Laboratory to correctly predict the interactions between our DNA, cell molecules, and proteins. Proteins are very important to our health. They do give our tissues the structures that ultimately do the work in our bodies. This means proteins can be used as targets for medication. However, it takes a whole lot of work to accurately predict how a protein will interact with a particular medication. This is what Google AI wants to solve. AlphaFold 3 wants to accelerate the process as well as predict this interaction in order to bring countless new treatments to the sick. The process of AI AlphaFold 3. As far back as 1902, German scientists discovered that proteins are made of a sequence of organic compounds called amino acids that are folded into three-dimensional shapes. The discovery of the sequencing of proteins and why and how they fold into certain shapes is still unknown today. In the 1950s, scientists reversed the trial and error of drug treatments, but instead targeted the protein of the diseased cell and rather targeted a drug that worked directly with it. In 1957, a British molecular biologist, John Kendrow, drew up the 3D imaging of a protein, myoglobin, scientist, although figuring out the shape of any protein remains a slow process. In 1969, an American molecular biologist, Cruz Leventhal, offered the hypothesis that the amino acids in proteins determine their shapes and structures. In the 1980s, developers introduced computer-aided drug design, CADD, a drug aimed at binding a target protein and seeking a cure. In 2018, Google DeepMind used AI to determine the critical assessment of structure prediction, CASP, of protein sequencing to determine the structure of their amino acids. In 2020, DeepMind was able to accurately predict how a protein would fold. This they termed AlphaFold 2. In 2021, AlphaFold 2 was able to accurately predict the structure of all 20,000 proteins in the body. Prior to this, expensive crystallography was being used, and this was only able to predict about 17% of the proteins. With this information, Google has now teamed up with the Isomorphic Laboratory to develop drugs that specifically target the proteins of the diseased cells. The future is predicted. In 2024, Google DeepMind, now termed AlphaFold 3, will be able to predict the structure of proteins and non-proteins, such as DNA, RNA, and how these molecules will bind to one another. This knowledge will be applied to develop drugs that target diseases, knowing how these molecules will interact and bind with each other. Isomorphic Laboratory is developing its own drugs internally, for obvious reasons, and focusing on oncology and immunology. If these drugs have a positive effect on illnesses, then we can comfortably thank Google for the life-saving treatment. But until then, we hold our peace. Apart from the medical point, we will also soon see the impact of AI in other aspects of our lives, like education, business, flying planes, and driving cars. AI will perform superhuman jobs, while most jobs will be lost. No one knows how this will eventually play out, but we are all eager to know and learn about the machine intelligence of AI. Finally, here are some takeaways ideas for you. Checking your symptoms on Google is not all that bad, because most require the cooperation of medical personnel. AlphaFold 3 will transform the way we correctly treat and self-medicate diseases. AlphaFold 3 can strengthen digital literacy. What do you think of them? If you have any ideas or thoughts, please drop your idea in the comment below. See you in the next videos.